Hey guys, welcome back. So today I brought home this Generac LP3250. This is a propane powered generator and is about 7 years old. I found this one on eBay. Didn't cost that much. It was about $57. So I'd like to say I got a deal, but maybe not. The description did say the regulator was bad. I went, checked out what a rebuild kit would cost for that, and to my surprise, Generac does not make a rebuild kit. They only sell new regulators, and they're asking about $450 for that regulator. So hopefully that's not it. I don't know. But the thing I can say for sure, just looking at it, is that we're not going to be doing much until we get this cord replaced. So we'll get that replaced. And also, this piece dropped off it somewhere. So don't know if that's important, but we'll keep it right there just in case. Let me set up a little better. When I get that starter recoil off, we'll get a new pull cord installed and go from there. Yeah, plenty of oil. So I think I'm going to add a propane tank and see what happens. Yeah, something's not right with the regulator. The way this works, it actually has a safety system. So when I turn the propane on and the engine's off, there should be no flow of propane through that regulator. This regulator has 3 connections. One is the high pressure side, the other one, the low pressure going to the carb. And then there's a third connection, which actually runs from the insulator on the carb over to the regulator. And what that does is when the engine starts, it creates a vacuum, and that opens the regulator and allows the low side to flow. So I guess there's 2 possibilities here. Either we have a leak on the high pressure side, or that cutoff valve isn't doing its job. So I'm going to pull the low pressure line off the carb. I want to plug that line with my thumb and see if the flow of gas stops. If it does, that tells me at least we don't have a high pressure leak and that the propane is moving through the system the way that it should. It's just not stopping when the engine's off. All right, it's hard to get this all in one shot, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the gain up on my microphone so hopefully you can hear the propane. And once that's going, I'm going to put my thumb on that low pressure side and see if the noise goes away. If it does, that tells me a lot. At least the propane's going in the right path, and it should be at least safe to start or try to start. All right, good. Hopefully you could hear that. I did turn the gain way up on the microphone. It's not as loud as I'm sure it's coming through, but I wanted to get the point across. Gas was flowing, put my thumb on the low pressure side going to the carb, and the noise goes away. So that's good. At least there's no breaks in the system. There's not gas venting somewhere where it shouldn't. So I'm going to reconnect that line to the carburetor and try starting this thing. All right, let's give this a try. I've got the light connected in the event this actually starts. I want to see if it makes power. And maybe something else is going on here. That should have done something. So I'm going to get the airbox cover off. I'm going to give it a little squirt of starting fluid, see if we get a different result. Interesting. Yeah, not sure what to think about this one. It would not start on propane only. It wasn't until I got it running for a second on starting fluid that now things seem to be working the way that they should. So this one has me scratching my head a bit. You know, I did throw the air filter on when it was running. Just wanted to make sure that that was not causing a restriction, and it didn't seem like it was. So I want to get this outside, run it for an extended period of time, do some load testing, make sure that regulator can keep up. All right, I'm going to give this thing a try per the instructions, which says to choke it, hold the prime button down for 2 seconds, pull it twice, open the choke, pull it twice. But I don't think that's going to work. I have a feeling that lock-off valve that's leaking is actually kind of flooding out the carb, meaning there's not enough oxygen or air getting in to ignite it. But let's try it the way it's supposed to be. And if that doesn't work, we'll try it with the choke off and not using the primer. Okay, I'm just going to let the propane vent out, and we'll try it again with no choke, no primer. It's not sounding too good. Well, I think the good news is at least the regulator and carburetor seem to work. I mean, it did start after I shut the propane off. I think some of it had dissipated and mixed a little better with the air. So once it was going, it was hunting a bit. I loaded it to 3,000 watts, which is close to the max that this can do, and things kept going just fine. And even when taking the load off, the engine sounded a lot better. It wasn't hunting anymore. So the regulator and the carb are doing a good job. Unfortunately, that lock-off valve or cut-off valve is not doing a good job. It's just letting too much propane through without the engine running, and that's causing it to not start. So I'm going to bring this back inside. I want to get the tank off. I want to get this cover off and the regulator out. I am going to open it. This, I think is usable for somebody that knows what they're doing, but, it's a danger and definitely difficult to start. So I'd like to try to fix this regulator if I can. Otherwise, I might try the clone. So without a rebuild kit, there's a pretty good chance that once I open this up, that's it. The diaphragms are very delicate and most likely aren't going to come off in one piece. And even if they do, there's no saying that it's going to go back together properly. But the way that it's working now is not very good, and it needs to be replaced. But before I just go ahead and buy a replacement, I'm going to see if there's any chance of getting this one fixed. this is the actual regulator side here, and it figures that's the one that came off pretty well. What I'm interested in here is where this goes. This here is what should open up the cutoff valve when there's a vacuum pulled on it when the engine starts. So unfortunately, I have to get this off, and yeah, it's pretty stuck on there. So So the way this works is when the engine starts, it pulls a vacuum here, which causes this diaphragm to go down and opens up this valve. It's hard to see. It just looks like a piece of rubber there. There's a little speck of something right there. Could it be that simple? Let's find out. So it's still leaking out of the same spot. I'm going to open it up again. I think ultimately the issue is that rubber plug is a bit worn, and that's what's letting the gas through. So ultimately, I think the issue is this piece right here. This is what's supposed to stop the gas flow, but you can see there is a ring kind of cut into this piece of rubber. If I had another one, this would be an easy fix, but I don't. So I'm going to try wet sanding it a bit with 400 grit, see if I can't get that to go away. think that did it. So I ended up pumping this out, just made it a lot easier to sand. So let's see if this fixes it. Well, it was worth a try, but without a rebuild kit, my options are pretty limited here. So I'm going to go ahead and order the clone regulator and give that one a go. All right, quick update. I went to order the part and realized that clone regulator for $125 was not really a clone of this. It was just a generic regulator that isn't made for that generator. Would it work? Sure, but everything would have to be replumbed, and it's not a plug and play solution. So, I got to thinking, why is it pushing through this vacuum lock-off valve? Potentially, is there an issue on the high side where it's just pushing through? So I opened up the high side again and took the valve out and was surprised to find this piece of rubber was just sitting loose kind of between the valve and this rocker. So I'm sure that is the issue. I'm going to get that back in there, put it back together, and test it again. Fixed. All right, I got a line hooked up to the vacuum port. Now I'm going to apply a vacuum to this, and when I do, the regulator should turn on. Perfect. Yeah, it's hard to believe something so stupid as that could lead to a very costly repair. I mean, $400+ for a new one of these. Anyway, I'm going to spray this down with some soap and water, make sure we don't have any leaks, and we'll throw it back on the machine. Okay, well now I know where this came from. This actually dropped off the generator at one point. I had no idea where. And it looks like they ran a small breather tube. The original must have been broken, and they cut off a piece of the right size and taped it to the wrong size. And I think that's what was going on both ends. So pretty creative, but that is going to restrict the engine from breathing. You don't want to do that. So I'm going to see if I can find the right size tube. Yeah, this one might do. It's a bit larger, but it might fit. Yeah, this isn't going to fit. So I will have to order a new breather. I mean, for now, I'll run with it like that. But in good Generac design, in order to replace that breather in the future, I do need to pull this top off later. Hate to do this to my Predator, but that is the breather tube I need. All right, ready to give this thing a try. It's actually been about 2 weeks. I wanted to let this thing sit for a bit and make sure that that rubber plug in the regulator stayed in place, and it has. So I think I can call this one fixed, but I haven't started it yet. So I suspect it's going to run a lot better. I guess the other thing I was thinking about is the instructions on this say to prime it, to choke it, and then pull it twice, and if it doesn't work, open the choke up, pull it twice, and I assume repeat until it starts. But that to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, the reason why you choke a carburetor is to actually increase the vacuum so that it can suck more gasoline out of the bowl. But since we're dealing with propane, I don't think that's needed. Also, when pulling the engine over, I noticed it is creating enough vacuum to actually activate that lock-off valve and allow the propane through. So I don't think we need to prime it or choke it. I'm just going to try to start it with the choke off and see how we do. Sounds really good. Yeah, 119 volts and 60.7 hertz. .7 volts, 58.4 hertz. Yeah, not bad. This thing fired right up and sounded good, both loaded and unloaded. So I'd say this one's done, and I got pretty lucky on this one. I mean, getting this regulator apart without destroying something is pretty hard to do. I wish Generac made a rebuild kit for it. Unfortunately, they don't. So, if you find yourself in a similar situation, there are options besides the OEM regulator. Most likely you can get one that is used to convert a gasoline generator to also run on propane or natural gas. Anyway, I hope this video helps someone. Thanks for watching.